Uganda opposition cry foul over electoral rules. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. This is Weekend at 1 with the very latest updates from Kenya and beyond. My name is Ian Ofula. Welcome to the program. Now, Jubilee members of the National Assembly have criticized CORD leader Raila Odinga's push for President Uhuru Kenyatta's impeachment. The MPs claims having failed in his attempt to edge out Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru, Raila is trying a desperate attempt on the president. They vow to defend the president and his policies.
Mr. Former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, unaweza kusema maneno ile ingine yote unataka kusema, lakini sasa unaelekea kuguza live wire. Ukisema utaimpeach Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, ati utanifutia president yangu asiwe president, wewe ni kucheza unacheza. Wacha nikuambie sasa, umeguza live wire. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, watu walitokea March 3rd wakatokea kwa polling center, tukamfanya awe rais wa Kenya. So Raila Amolo Odinga kusema uta impeach that president. Can I repeat again, you are now touching a live wire.
Sisi tunawaangalia na tunawaambia hivi, kama mnataka kuimpeach Uhuru, jaribuni kesho. Hapana ongea, kujeni, mtatukuta. Hata tuitwe kwa bunge tuambiwe turudie.
And on matters education, private schools have added a new twist to the standoff between the government and teachers' unions and announced that they will ignore an order from the cabinet directing all primary and secondary schools to close on Monday next week. Speaking to KTN Kenya, Private Schools Association Chairman Ernest Mwai says after an emergency meeting shortly after the government ordered the closures, they would resist all attempts to close private learning institutions. A cabinet statement released from the State House had endorsed measures taken by the ministry that all schools be closed for security reasons as the strike teachers in public schools entered the third week.
The implications are massive because we have a different contract with the parents. We have an obligation to ensure that the children cover their 11 weeks for third term. When the ministry says that the private school, that all schools are going to cover 3 weeks for their third term, we find it to be utterly irresponsible because the private schools did not in any way whatsoever engage in the strike. We have no problem. Our teachers are there. They are willing to teach. We have been going on. Security has been there. So what informed the decision by the Ministry of Education to close private schools? We haven't been told. We have not been convinced by the government at all on why private schools need to close.
Still on the same, a section of Rift Valley leaders have criticized government's move to close down schools in dealing with the biting teachers' strike. Led by Baringo Senator Gideon Moi and his counterpart, Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto, they urged government to dialogue with the teachers to end this strike. Nonetheless, they also dismissed Deputy President's Jubilee's Alliance Party, saying that it's not Rift Valley's vehicle of choice.
And I understand what the courts agreed on is what the Teachers Service Commission had also agreed on. So where were they? The teachers are not wrong. What we are only saying is we want our children to be in school. Hatutaki hii fitina. Waongee kati ya national government na walimu. Na wahakikishe walimu wamepata haki yao. Kila mfanyakazi ako na haki. Ama namna gani?
Sisi serikali na walimu waketi chini tupate suluhisho. Kwa sababu tunajua wakati huu watoto wetu ndio wanaumia. And if you're not careful, we will go back in generations. Insurgency is not going to help anybody.
Hii ni KANU ambaye iko na uhai. Na kwa wale wanafikiria tuanze kuheshimiana. Tuanze kuheshimiana kisiasa. Tunakuheshimu, heshimu wengine.
Elsewhere, an oil tanker transporting thousands of liters of diesel yesterday caught fire along the Kisumu-Kericho highway, giving firefighters a hard time putting it out. The accident also slowed down traffic along the highway. Here is that story. It took over 3 hours before the Kericho Fire Department were able to put out the fire on this oil tanker. On its way to Kisumu, the tanker was transporting thousands of liters of diesel when it caught fire along the Kericho-Kisumu highway. Just 25 kilometers to Kericho town. Eyewitnesses here, mostly grocery vendors situated by the roadside, claim that one of the tanker's tires caught fire before spreading to its other parts, leading to the accident.
Tulikuwa tunaketi alafu tukaona hii gari inakimbia sana. Na ilikuwa imechomeka, tairi ilikuwa imechomeka. Tukaona hii gari inaendaje. Mara moja tu hiyo gari kaanguka na ikachomeka.
In a conflicting statement by the police, Kericho OCPD Kipkemoi Rop said that the driver of the tanker, which was ferrying the highly flammable commodity, lost control of the vehicle, leading it to crash at the scene and immediately afterwards exploded into flames.
That time the road was very wet. Although the driver tried to control, it was a deep or rather a slopey stretch on the road. This is a spot which is a black spot.
Lucky to be alive, the tanker's driver escaped with minor burn wounds and was rushed to the Kericho District Hospital. He was traveling alone at the time. Traffic along the highway was interrupted during the hours as other tankers transporting flammable commodities had to wait until the fire was put out. A section of the road remains under construction and the police have warned motorists to exercise caution while using the road. And operations at Kilindini Port in Mombasa have resumed hours after a lockdown by GSU and Records Code security officers that began at midnight on Friday. The security operation was launched to carry out a search on a vessel suspected to be carrying drugs and illegal arms. Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director Gishiri Ndua and local police officers were locked out of the port from last night as all gates remained tightly guarded by officers from Nairobi who are wearing balaclavas. All gates remained off limits as KPA employees who were on night shift were ordered to vacate the area. The exact nature of the cargo is yet to be confirmed as security remained tight during the operation at the port. And let's cross over borders to Uganda, where the opposition says electoral laws in the country are geared to favor the ruling NRM party and want minimum reforms before the elections. The opposition has presented a petition to the Uganda Electoral Commission seeking for more time before the deadline for the submission of nomination papers.
We invited the presidential aspirants here. We met with them. The main objective of that meeting was sharing them once again our guidelines for aspiring candidates. But during our interaction with the aspirants, majority of them seemed to propose that we extend the period for submission of supporters forms. And the commission sat and looked into that request and agreed that the commission can extend the period from the 21st up to the 29th as per the requests. But we also want to emphasize that when you are bringing your papers to the commission, make sure you pay that non-refundable fee of 8 million.
Tired of waiting for assistance from the government, parents at a school in Nyeri took matters in their own hands positively. The school was built before independence, has been in a dilapidated state, making it difficult for the pupils to effectively learn. Cracks on the walls, leaking roofs and deplorable toilets have been a headache for the school fraternity. The school has now undergone a facelift after the parents themselves came together to renovate the school.
Parents at Kianjao Primary School would tell you that the old adage, unity is strength, is not understated. For without their collective efforts, this primary school in Madeira, where their children attend, would not have gotten a facelift. Built even before independence, the school has been in a deplorable state. Cracks on the wall and leaking roofs that make learning a strenuous affair in the chilly Nyeri weather, toilets that have certainly seen better days, and earthen floors that are a perfect breeding ground for jiggers.
Ibeleni wako wanasoma vizuri, wengine wanakuliwa na hizi zinaitwa jiga.
Tired of waiting for help from the powers that be, as Kenyans are often chided for doing, the parents here came together to renovate the school that had fallen apart quite literally. Armed with shovels, spades and whatever else that could ease their work, they rolled up their sleeves and got down to business, both the old and the young. The new toilets, hardly recognizable from their previous state. The initiative was spearheaded by Geoffrey Rigathi, who chipped in financially to buy the material needed for the construction, such as cement and ballast.
The toilets that was done in early 60s were in a deplorable situation, and indeed the public health officers were quite right in giving a notice to shut them down, to close the school down.
And instead of hiring paid labor, which would mean extra expenses, the parents did it themselves. Good riddance to the earthen floors, and the students will now enjoy the cemented ones.
And the parents are here today to put a permanent floor to their classrooms. And our happiness today is that we have been joined by over 300 youths who there before were always found drinking from morning to evening. And the boys have reformed and they are very happy, they are looking very healthy, and they have really assisted us. You can see we are almost completing.
The youth who previously engaged in alcoholism and have since stopped, or at least trying to, also joined the parents of Kenjao.
I was one of those people who are taking podi, I mean Johi in Kikuyu, and then today I'm very able, I'm energetic to work.
Tungetaka pia serikali itusaidie ndio tupate kazi. Vijana wengi unaona hapa hawana kazi. Na sasa wengine tena hawakusoma. Kwa hivyo tunaomba pia serikali ishughulikie vijana pia ndio waweze kusaidika na asirudie kwa hiyo pombe haramu.
The school is now beginning on a clean slate, even as they close on Monday after the government's directive. When they do come back, there will be a happier lot. Carol Derry, KTN News, Nyeri.
And farmers in the North Rift have adopted a new innovation of silage making. The new way, however, involves them cutting down their produce, maize. One innovation that might change the fortunes of the farmers in the ever-persistent challenges of maize farming. Mercy Kandie tells us how.
The maize in the farms look just right for harvesting. Farmers in Uasin Gishu County are set to harvest from next month. But today's harvest is different, very different. The maize here is not harvested for human consumption, but for cow feed.
Kumbe mahindi si ya ugali peke yake. Na sisi katika Rift Valley watu wamezoea mahindi inashagwa alafu utengeneze ugali.
It's a field day for a group of farmers in Seregon Farm in Uasin Gishu County who are learning how to make better silage, get better output from farming, use of technology to change the mindset and way of normal operation here.
Ng'ombe inaenda kuincrease maneno ya maziwa kwa kutokea lishe bora. Kwa hivyo siku hizi technology ya sasa inahitajika kwamba ng'ombe pia ichungwe kama mtu. Naona balanced diet katika dairy farming.
We have got machines which are harvesting maize for silage. They are harvesting in a quality and in the proper way that it's required.
It's a new innovation set to boost dairy farming. The use of chaff cutter and a conventional way of harvesting maize using pangas is now being overtaken by a self-propelled harvester. A bulldozer compacts harvested and shredded maize stalks ready for silage making. The conventional way of harvesting normally takes 1 week on a farm. The mechanized method takes only 3 days without affecting the rich nutrients in the stalk.
Look at this one now. This is less than an inch in terms of chopping. The chopping amount is less than an inch. It's almost like sukuma wiki which is being cooked. And that's what it should be. Secondly, that machine you saw in the farm does not allow the grains to leave. Rather, it crushes the grains, so you don't see the grains in the silage. Whenever you go to many farms, you will find cows which are being fed on silage. You will find maize grains in the cow dung. That means that is an unutilized feed.
This is also expected to address growing demand for animal feeds in the country, with a number of large-scale farmers looking into Uganda for importation of affordable inputs. The silage making process takes place between 3 to 4 weeks in a cost-effective way. Then the harvested stalks are covered in a polythene. But it's not only the cows that produce more milk, but farmers who can make much more money.
Ninawaambia wakulima wa Kalenjin ambao wamekuwa wakipenda kufanya ukulima ya mahindi na kuuza mahindi ya kwamba badilishe nia, watengeneze biashara katika ufugaji wa ng'ombe na waangalie value ya production ya mahindi ambayo inatoka kwa shamba.
We are advising our farmers to convert their maize into silage and sell it at between 7 and 10 shillings per kilo on farm, and the earnings will not be less than 100,000 from 1 acre.
The rhetoric has been that the cost of farming inputs takes so much effort to translate into a profitable output for farmers. And this year, with the El Nino warning that could ruin maize in the farms way before harvesting season, then this could be just one solution to agribusiness.
Every Kenyan, and especially if school milk project would be introduced the way Jubilee sometimes had said before, then we will have a very big deficit. So we have to move fast to produce milk. And how do we do that? We are saying 200 farmers, 5,000 liters per day, and that will be 1 million liters.
What could be the turnaround for dairy farmers in the region? One innovation to achieve optimum results as compared to the old methods of managing animal feeds. Marcy Kandia, KTN News, Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County.
Well, Weekend at 1 is taking a short commercial break, but this is what is coming up right after.
Still to come, day 3 of street protests following the Burkina Faso coup.
Well, that is it for Weekend at 1, but just a reminder of some of the stories that have made headline at this hour.
Standoff expected as private schools defy government directive. Tanker explodes in Kericho County. And Uganda opposition cry foul over electoral rules.
This is KTN News, where we bring you not just the whole story, but we also bring you stories as they happen. Our Twitter handle is @KTN News. We really would appreciate your feedback. Coming up next is Africa Journal for our viewers on KTN News. My name is Ian Ofula. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.
This is KTN. Welcome home. A revolution in motor oil. Introducing Shell Helix Ultra. Designed from natural gas with Pure Plus technology. No other motor oil cleans your engine better